Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Okay, so if you, for example, you're going to be reviewing papers. I should actually add a column in here. Let's number the papers. 1, 2, 3. You probably need to, uh, I would say most students who are doing a pure literature review probably need to review about 20 papers, 15 to 20 papers. I'll talk to you now about when you stop, because you may need to carry on to 50, but in your case, some of these papers may also be industry reports and things. You probably want to add the industry reports towards the end and prioritize peer-reviewed literature journal papers. So in most cases, students will actually just look at literature journal papers.
Mm-hmm.
So your first paper that you find is Jones, and Jones may have said something about your topic. So your topic is the distribution of electric vehicle charging stations.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the factors that drives that? So the first factor is maybe the distance between stations. Okay, so that's an obvious factor, and Jones talks about that. So I'm just going to put a 1 there. Let's kind of see how this looks. I just pin this. Sorry, just give me a second. So Jones may talk about that, the distance between stations. Jones may also talk about another factor that drives the placement of the vehicle of this as kind of a highway close by. So maybe there's a rule that when there's a highway close by, then there's more electric vehicle charging stations.
Mm-hmm.
Or and Jones published on that one. Let me just do this quickly. Or the other one could be a close by substation to make sure that there's enough power for the electric vehicle. So after reading Jones, I've got these 3 factors now identified. The problem is it's not only those 3 factors, there are other factors too. And that's why you need to read more papers. So if I now read the next paper, Kim also spoke about the distance between stations. They may also have spoken about subways, but they also talk about population density, for example. So Kim brings a new factor to the picture that Jones didn't think of, or that was not in Jones's scope, but Kim brings that factor. So then and so after reading Kim, I see that Kim covers those specific bases. Then there's maybe somebody else, Lee, and Lee has made a whole paper just based on wealth of community, because if people have more money, they have more
Mm-hmm.
electric vehicles. So
Yes.
now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different factors. Sometimes I go back and say, well, you know what? Actually, Jones also spoke about wealth of community, but I didn't really identify that back then. So I may need to go back and actually say, oh yeah, hang on, that was in his paper as well. So slowly but surely, um, I I read the different papers and so forth, So yes, surnames by surnames, this kind of carries on down here.
Mm-hmm.
And as I read these papers, some of them will cover some of these topics, others will cover other topics, and some of them may pick up something new that I didn't know before. And that's maybe a bit more of a unique factor. After I studied these 20 papers or so, I have a list of factors or list of issues related to my literature review. And this really makes it nice because now I can see, hang on, this is quite a hot topic. There's a lot of people talking about this hot topic. It's probably one of the first ones I want to talk about in my literature review. When I do my literature review, I'm going to talk about this one first, and then this one is kind of closely related. So I can start seeing how I'm going to structure my literature review
Okay.
by logically organizing those topics. I can also see that when I'm going to talk about distance between stations, I need to synthesize the information of these authors. So I'm going to cite Jones and Kim in brackets sometimes, or sometimes I'll talk about, you can see which authors are going to feature in that piece of text.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice because what students often do is they write one paragraph about Jones, and then they write one paragraph about Kim, and then they want another one paragraph about Lee. And the synthesis and the combining that into, hang on, distance between stations, Jones and Kim and Lee, one did in Australia, one did in the USA, one did the research in China, but it's actually the same stuff, so you want to synthesize and bring an information together. That's the one thing that's really valuable about this spreadsheet approach. But the other thing is, by the time you get to the bottom here, so as I go on and I start reading more and more papers, at some point, sorry, these things are just kind of popping up. Let's just get another Ferris or something here. We have lots of different surnames here. As I start getting to ones in the bottom, I realize I'm not adding more columns. I'm saturating. I seem to be, if I read this paper, it's just more of the same. There's nothing different that this paper is kind of, I don't need to go and put another column in here. And that gives me confidence that I'm saturating my space and I think I've got a handle over all the factors that are influencing this specific topic. And I don't need to dig deeper. If at 20 papers, you're still discovering new things, I would say you should carry on. Don't stop there at 20. Your topic is so complex and there's so many different factors. After 20 papers, you're still adding. That's an indication. So students sometimes ask me, how many papers do I have to read? No, that's the wrong question. So at what point does your topic saturate? And you're not adding more new knowledge. You just get the repetition. That's more the right type of